been dabbing for years now, and in just my time of dabbing, I've seen a lot of different things come out, different types of extraction methods and new consistencies popping up. And I've also seen like a ton of different devices and pieces used for consuming concentrate. And I think we're at a pretty good point where there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and there's going to be even more cool stuff in the future. But one thing I've always heard people have mixed feelings on is dry dabs. I think we're in a phase where most rigs, most concentrate devices, you see a lot of e-rigs, a lot of dab rigs, that kind of stuff, have water in them, right? Most rigs do have water in them. But if you compare that to like a vape pen or something else, that's also consuming concentrate. That's also vaping the oils. While you can get water attachments for that kind of stuff, most of those don't have water to go with them. You're not doing any diffusion, any filtration with the water. You don't really need any percolation. But a vape pen is a smaller hit, so it's really not that bad. But dry dabs is one of those things that always makes some people go, what? Like it's crazy or something, right? Like I could see that if your first dozen or so dabs is all through a water piece and then somebody hands you one without water and you go, wait a minute. This is different. Like some of my first setups were dry dab rigs. I remember very fondly this tiny little honey straw nectar collector I had, which that thing did so many dabs. A little titanium tip on there. I busted out the dang old Coleman propane torch. Woo! God dang it, Bobby, we're doing glowies. And while the little honey straw I had did hold water in it, at one point I just stopped putting water in there. It was so small that some of the times I would just suck the water through. It didn't really do a good job percolating. It was just like pitiful little bubbles in there, barely doing anything. And I felt like it was just making more reclaim build up quickly. Plus I would do like a lot of hiking and stuff. I would take that out with me. And like a water piece is not like the best for on the go. Like you could do it, but like ideally you want a piece without water so you don't have to worry about spilling it or needing the water because you forgot it, right? So I've done a ton of dry dabs. Like very early on, I've been doing them. Some of the first like concentrate pieces that they were selling, if you've never seen a health stone, it's like this little porous rock that you can heat up, you can put concentrate on, and you just torch it. A lot of the early dab rigs were just a dry pipe with a hellstone in it. And it wasn't even like a special pipe. You would just take your regular spoon pipe, make sure it was clean with no resin in it, and you just put your hellstone in there. You'd put your concentrate on there and you would just torch the crap out of it. I've done many dabs like that. I've done honey straw dabs without water in it. And now I use a proxy, an electronic dabbing device that doesn't take water. You can get pieces for it with water, but I kind of prefer it without water. Hitting a pipe like Sherlock, feeling like an esteemed gentleman ready to solve some mysteries. Like dry dabs are actually pretty good, right? Think about it. When they extract the concentrate, what are they doing? They're getting rid of all the stuff in the plant that doesn't get you high, that you don't want. The plant material, the stems, the leaves, all that's left behind, and you get the cannabinoids and the terpenes. Well, what does water typically do? Well, water cools the hit down, obviously, but it also does some filtration. You don't really need the filtration on your dabs, right? You might want that on a flower hit where you're running a lot of smoke through, but if you have like good, clean vapor from nice concentrate, what do you need to filter out? Now, the main reason to use water is for temperature control. You can take a bigger hit if the vapor is cooler. But if you can handle the heat from a dry dab, you're going to get a bigger hit because you're not filtering out any of the vapor, the cannabinoids, the terpenes. You're creating less reclaim because the vapor isn't cooling as quickly. It doesn't have the water to travel through to make it recondense into a solid. You'll still get reclaim with dry dabs, but you'll get less and you get more of the vapor. So more flavor, more cannabinoids, more heat, but more vapor. So like if you really have good, clean concentrate, you don't really need to filter it. But in some cases, like I mentioned, you can take a bigger hit if the vapor's cooler. You want to try not to do your concentrate hit too hot. You don't want your nail to be too hot, producing vapor that's too hot. Because sure, you can cool it off in water, but hot vapor is hot vapor. So like a nice low temp dab through a dry pipe isn't actually that bad. But if you're doing a really hot dab, yeah, it's going to be harsh. Now, I will say it's not like you should go try to do a dry dab on every piece you have. Some pieces hit better because of the water in it. Some pieces give you a better level of suction and airflow because of the water in it. Just cutting the water out completely might give you too open of an airflow, so you're not able to pull like a steady stream of vapor through. But something like this with not a lot of glass to travel through, no percolators to worry about, I'm just going to get the vapor as it's produced. But I do have a water attachment for one of these, and I have noticed that it has a tighter airflow, especially with the water in there, and I don't have to pull on it as hard to get about the same level of vapor. That's one of the benefits of water. If you get like a nice good piece with like really good airflow, pulling on your piece is so much easier. But in some cases, it's really not that much different. Now, I do talk about warm water and flower pieces to help cut down on like resin and stuff. and make the hit smoother. That does apply to concentrates, but I don't think as much, right? I don't think it's affecting the smoothness of the hit as much with vapor as it does with smoke. And while I do think it helps like minimize the reclaim with the warm water, I don't think it's that much, but I still put warm water on my rigs. I just don't keep refreshing it every 30 minutes to keep it warm. At the end of the day, dry dabs aren't that bad if you have good concentrate and you're doing like a true low temp dab. If you're just doing glowies out here on Poop Soup, yeah, it's gonna be awful. Either way, come smoke with me on Twitch. I go live at 9 p.m. Eastern for a sesh. Link your Amazon Prime, give me that Jeff Bezos money. And if you haven't seen my E-Rig tier list yet, what are you doing? Go check it out. See where the Proxy ranks among the other rigs with water. Have a lit day, my dudes.